says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Could you provide details about magic in games? You mentioned that it is not real magic and more like a weapon. But does this mean that the hukum is permissible? Yes, permissible. Or just not as grave as magic. La, it means it's permissible. Na'am. So many games nowadays, so many games, especially RPGs, the role-playing games, and the different genres regarding this. They do what? You choose. You choose. There is warrior, there is hunter, there is magician, right? There is priest, and sometimes there is a warrior with a cross on him and so on. So what do we do now? What do we do? The game doesn't have anything that is haram. Music, I muted the music. I go to options. I advise everyone. You want to play, you go options, and you lower the music until 0, or you mute it. Mute, or you mute the television. طيب. Priests don't play as a priest. Priest as something religious, stay away from it. Like, what about if it has a cross? If there is glorification of the cross, this is haram. There is a game where I think there is maybe jinn, I think. If I'm not, you correct me. I do not know. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, but I think this is the game. And you have to use the cross. There's glorification of the cross. La, this is haram. This is haram. This is forbidden. طيب. What about if it was somewhere in the background, somewhere at a place there is a church, at a place there is... Khalas, you can move on through the game without having to deal with it, right? You can just move on without having to deal with it, and this is not haram, inshallah azza wa jal. I know you can ignore it. Alhamdulillah. طيب. What about magic? Yalla, I have a character called mage, or called sorcerer, or called whatever. Magic. What is the magic in the game? Wallah, he raises his hand and fire comes out. He raises his hand and frost comes out. He does this, he shoots from his hand. He shoots from his hand fire. He shoots from his hand frost. He shoots from his hand electricity. This is not magic. This is not magic. It's like saying Superman. Superman flies. And Batman, he has, or Spider-Man, he shoots web and as if he's flying, and he he's incredibly strong. Or you have the Incredible Hulk, right? Or the other one, X-Man, the Wolverine, the one that has blades. Yes? This is not sorcery. This is not magic. They call them mutations. They call them whatever it is. This is not magic. Magic is when you play a game, and in the game they tell you what? Sacrifice to the devil. Sacrifice to the grave. There are games like this, ya ikhwa. Pray to the statue. Worship the devil. When there is sorcery, when something that is like sorcery, like soothsaying, for example, you're playing a game and there is a soothsayer and she tells the future, haram, throw this game in the garbage. Khalas, it is no longer from Allahu, which is mubah. Allahu, ya ikhwa, when we talk about having fun, playing games, the asl, the continuous rule in Islam is that it is allowed. It is allowed, unless we have evidence that it is haram. Understood? طيب. But if there is magic that is similar to sorcery in real life, this is what is haram. Therefore, ya ikhwa, sometimes some of the brothers, they go to the mashayikh and they ask a question. They say, what is the ruling on magic in games? You think the mashayikh know what games are? Yeah, I remember when I went to Sheikh Muhammad Hisham and I asked him about games, his answer was general. He said, if the games, they develop a strategy, mental faculties, logical thinking, it has, and there are many games like this, by the way, ya ikhwa, especially in board games, in board games and card games and stuff like this. There's a lot of thinking, There's also a game called Dama, if you don't know about, there's a game called Dama, which is a replacement for chess. You can play it and there's a lot of thinking into it. So he said that which increases cleverness and this is allowed, as long as it doesn't have something which is haram. So when you go and tell him there is sorcery in it, the sheikh thinks sorcery, magic, meaning what? Getting closer to the shaitan. getting closer to the shaitan and knowing the unknown and the ghaib and ya akhi, or having to do defiling Islam and the Quran, and this is what the mashayikh they think of. But if you go and tell the shaykh, yani, it's just the name, and it might have another name, and he just shoots out, and he does this with his hand, and fire comes out, or he shoots laser from his eyes, something like this. Now it changes. I remember I asked the Sheikh Ahmed Mansour Sabarak about this. He said, "La, this now it changes." Because when I asked him, I said about magic, he said, "It is haram, it's forbidden." I said, "But what they mean, Sheikh, is that yani, he shoots fire," and he said, "La, this." I said, "It's like a weapon. He shoots fire and so on." He said, "La, this is not what is meant by sorcery, and this is allowed, inshallah, as long as it does not include something